Good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to our F.A.M.E event. We have these quarterly, and we're very excited about today's event with Karin Costa. Just a little bit about Karin. I will let her tell a little bit more about herself, but she is a professional property auctioneer in the state of Nevada and California, selling everything from residential contents, antiques, collectibles, automobiles to business assets. Her appraisal practice encompasses working with attorneys, banks, insurance, trustees, you name it, she's probably done it and sold it. She's sold items in more than 50 categories, fine arts, antiques dating back to the 1820s. She is a member of the International Society of Appraisers, and she is currently studying to receive her designation from them for fine art appraising, which is quite a specialty designation in that field, and it requires a lot of work and dedication and study. So I'd like to welcome Karin. Thank you for being here with us today, and we look forward to it.
Thank you for the invitation. I want to tell you that this presentation is usually about 3 hours long, so I'm going to cut it real short and leave a lot of opportunity for you all to ask questions of me, and we'll do a little bit of a roadshow type of appraisal. But first I want to tell you that I was talking to my doctor the other day, and I asked, how do you decide when a person is ready to go into the old folks' home? And he said, well, first we fill up the bathtub, and then we give them a teacup, a bowl, and a bucket. We ask them to empty the bathtub. I said, I got it. You know, the normal person will take the bucket because it's bigger. No, the normal person will pull the plug. Would you like a room with a window? In reality, folks, that's life. I've dealt with people, estates, families, children, nieces, nephews, friends, neighbors, guardians, lawyers, for over 20 years. Starting as an antiques dealer, I was buying from estates through auction and estate tag sales and reselling the items, making a profit, as they say. And because I knew too much about what things were worth, I started being asked by family and friends, would you sell these items for me? So I started out with no education, doing estate tag sales. I did go to Edinburgh University in Pennsylvania for 3 courses and studied under professional appraisers, authors, and antiques dealers by the name of Emil Jenkins and Robert Ketchum, both professionals in the antiques of our Revolutionary War period. And from there I did estate tag sales, where I'd come into your house and I'd put a price tag on everything and stand there and negotiate. And you know, that was 20 years ago, way before the internet, where everybody in the neighborhood would come in, and only the folks who knew what was for sale had read the little 1-inch ad because that's all you could afford. And they bought that stuff, but everybody else would come and dicker over the spoon that was 10 cents and can I have it for a penny? So I got tired of that. I got tired of the negotiation. I got tired of too many people coming into the house who were not serious buyers, so I became an auctioneer. And I've been doing that since 1998. Live auctions were my specialty. I sold everything from farms and mobility outfitted vans to tchotchkes, knickknacks, Asian, fine art. A year ago, I was hired to sell out the last largest souvenir station here in Reno, across from Harrah's, and we had over 20,000 square feet of new merchandise, used merchandise, retail fixtures, backstock, office supplies, etc. And that's the first online auction that I did. Now I'm an online auctioneer. I don't have to call bids anymore. I have to promote globally to sell the items because this is a global market. Whether you like it or not, this is a global market. And in the major cities of Washington, D.C., New York City, Chicago, and eventually it will come out west, just like the Oregon Trail. You know, it took them about 25 years, but it will get here. Eventually, those estate tag sales will be all online, and people will be shopping online for the items that you have for sale when you sell an estate. So be prepared. If you're around, start telling your friends and neighbors, your children, your grandchildren, your nieces, your nephews, who will ever be taking care of your personal property assets, that they have to be prepared for a global market. So that's my little introduction and my little lecture about myself. Now let's get down to serious business. Again, this is usually a 3-hour presentation. So for this purpose, to keep on track, to keep on time, I will be reading from my notes, which I typically don't do. I'm typically up here very animated, asking questions as we go along, but I ask that you please hold your questions until the end. Write them on your paper. Get your pens out, write your questions on the paper, and I will take them at the end of my presentation. But I want to get over what it is that we're talking about today. And what we're talking about today is how you can be certain of your item's value or your estate's value. So be certain of its value. Whenever there is a question about the value of your personal property, there's also risk involved. It may be the risk of selling too low or paying too much, the risk of being under or overinsured, the risk of not getting your fair share in a division of property, the risk of incurring tax penalties or being audited when claiming a deduction for charitable contribution or when calculating estate taxes. A professional appraiser helps you manage these and other such risks by providing a written opinion of value upon which you can base your financial decisions. Rather than being an educated guess, the professional appraiser's value conclusions are based on prescribed methods or evaluation, research, and report writing. Bankers, financiers, investors, insurers, adjusters, estate managers, trustees, executors, attorneys, judges, federal and state tax agencies are all dependent on the knowledge and expertise of the appraiser, and so are you. The death of a spouse, your appointment as guardian of a loved one, the decision to downsize, or a medical or financial need to move are some of the most devastating events in a person's life. At a time when you feel incapable of dealing with life's routines, you or a family member are slammed with an avalanche of financial and legal tasks and housing decisions that require immediate attention. One of my clients 2 years ago, named Kim, is a working mother of 9 children and a wife with a job. She had to move her mother into assisted living following her mother's hip injury, which she could not return from rehab back to her 5-bedroom house. Kim had to make decisions quickly within the month on what to move to the apartment, what personal items to move to the apartment, plus decide what contents to sell to pay for housing and medical bills, and then get the real estate cleaned out to get it on the market to eliminate maintenance and holding costs. All this while taking care of her family and taking time off of work. The National Association of Senior Move Managers estimates that family members will take 21 days, 3 weeks, away from work and family to move a loved one. If you can imagine, I have family members who are on the East Coast coming out here to Nevada to take care of their aunts, their uncles, their mothers, their fathers. 21 days away from home and family and work. This is the time when it is wrong to be making major financial decisions. Too often and too late, people find out that the appraisals they have are inaccurate or misleading, resulting in great risk to themselves, hanging their hat on information that is unreliable. A competent appraiser helps you manage financial risk. So what do you need to know now to prepare yourself, your family, your heirs, and your successors? An appraisal now can help you in wealth planning, writing your will or your trust, and in leaving specific instructions to your successors and heirs. An appraisal may be used now for wealth planning to know the value of the total estate at the present time. That's today. To plan future investments, moves, sales, and timelines. We're not relying on information from 1993, which I had an inquiry the other day. This is what it was worth in 1993. This is 2015. To make a decision on what to sell and in what order. What kind of money do I need now, and what asset do I need to sell now that would help me with that financial decision? To use as collateral for loans. Art is becoming much more highly accepted by banks as collateral for loans. To solidify and decide heirloom instructions. Who gets what? To make charitable contribution decisions. An appraisal is required for any charitable donation above $5,000 and is recommended to substantiate a donation to a charitable organization of $1,000 or more. Most importantly, it establishes expectations. Do you have a large or small estate? How is the market changing? Is it going up or is it going down? What should I write in my will or instruct my executor to do? I did a sale this last weekend where the gentleman is selling out for his mother. Questions that I always ask people. How soon do you need to be out of the house? Do you have a lease or a rent deadline by the end of the month you need to be out? Do you have a pending transaction to close this piece of real estate? He just wanted to be out of the house. Get me out of this house. I've been dealing with this too long. The text message I get this morning is, we expected to get more. I had 5 days to sell. 5 days, 1 day to set it up, 1 day to market it, 2 days to auction it, 1 day to check it out. That's a typical tag sale for those of you who know what the local market is. You set it up 1 day, you put it in the newspaper on Thursday, you sell Friday and Saturday, what's left over goes to charity on Monday, and you're out of the house. You get what you get. That's why planning is important. Set the expectation. When will you need an appraiser to settle an estate? Upon death. An appraisal is necessary for a taxable estate. Every state is different. The executor must efficiently catalog the property to provide an appraisal that meets the IRS requirements. In the state of Nevada, if you are going through probate, practicing law without a license, I believe the executor has 60 days to do the inventory and present it to the court. 60 days, I know there's a 6 in there, 60 days, I believe, to go through that house and present a piece of paper to the court and says, these are all the assets. Close your eyes and think of what's in your house. Can you write that all down and get that to the court in 60 days? Also, an appraisal is used for equitable distribution to settle the estate and is based on fair market value. You have a handout with the definition. Fair market value. So I've just said, settle an estate, IRS. Put those two terms together and attach fair market value. If you're out there in the market and you're interviewing estate sale people, estate brokers, auctioneers, auction houses, whatever, jewelers, antique dealers, and they tell you that they will give you or they will sell the items at fair market value, please look at the definition. That is not fair market value, and we'll get into that in a minute. In a guardianship, the guardian must take an inventory of assets, ascertain the value, and file the values with the court. Appointed guardians, whether they are court-ordered or family members, are required to update the inventory every year and may be subject to court audits. Every year, you have to tell the court what the assets are. You may be subject to an audit. Also, appraisers are often hired to give independent opinions through appraisal because guardians can be sued for mismanagement or if there are irregularities. Very complicated situations that we can get into here. You can be the executor, you can be the trustee, you can be the guardian, and all of a sudden the phone rings and here you are in charge. You have real estate, you have personal property, you have stocks, you have bonds, you have insurance, you have automobiles, you have RVs. You have mineral rights, you have small businesses, and you have a timeline. Because once that guardianship comes into place, you have to get going. You are accountable to people out here, whether they are heirs, whether they are heirs coming out of the woodwork, whether they are family members that have been disowned. You are accountable when you're in charge. Plan ahead. I'll give you some examples. I give you the example right now. Had a phone call yesterday from Peggy. She's the executor of her aunt's estate. Her aunt's estate is located in 2 states, Florida and Virginia. Her aunt owns 2 pieces of real estate, Florida and Virginia. Both houses are full with personal property in Florida and Virginia. Florida requires probate if you have an estate of $75,000 or larger, regardless of the paperwork that you filled out. She didn't tell me what happens in Virginia. The aunt died in Virginia. The house in Virginia, fully furnished, has been written 2 ways in her piece of paper, and I'm not privy to the paper, I'm just relaying the information. 2 ways. If the real estate goes to a family member, the personal property is to be dispersed. If, on the other hand, the real estate is given to John Jones, in which case it has been, there is no then. So John Jones now has a piece of real estate that is fully furnished with no direction as to what to do with that personal property. The aunt told Peggy before she died that I think John Jones is a little off, worse than I am. But the aunt never changed her piece of paper to say what happens to the personal property. So here's the question mark. The clock is running. The attorney fees go like this. The court calendar goes like this. And we all have a question mark that somebody else is going to decide. Planning is important for every T and every I. There are many people in the circle who can provide values to you. Antique dealers, jewelers, auto dealers, art gallery owners, and you. How many own a smartphone? And I'm in a population here of what age group? Pick up your smartphone, Pick up the glass, pick up the purse, pick up the artwork. I know the value. eBay told me so. It's the answer I get every time I walk into an estate. Well, on eBay. Well, on eBay. eBay is not the be-all, end-all valuation source. If you foresee a challenge to value, or equitable distribution, or you foresee a court appearance or tax audit, a qualified appraiser and an appraisal report should be sought. You should understand the basics of appraisals and appraisal terminology so that the information you purchase is reliable and can be used by others. And those others are attorneys, the court, the heirs, the executors, and everybody else. Many times I walk into a home, and I did this a couple weeks ago. My husband has a stamp collection. Here's what he wrote down. That helps. Oh, and I have some art. Here, this is the piece of paper I got, and here's line items of the pieces of art and a number at the end. How many of you wrote book reports in grade school and got it sent back because it was one paragraph long? That's not a report. That tells you absolutely nothing. Tripped down the stairs in my glasses. An appraisal report. Pages of information, explanations. How many of you were scientists, engineers, architects, teachers? You wrote reports, you explained yourself, you made a plan. You put it in writing so people would understand. First, define appraisal. An appraisal is the act of determining value, estimating a cost, or calculating the present worth of forecasted earnings. We're going to work with determining value. We're not going to do business in this session today. In an opinion of value, it is an opinion of value that can be expressed as a specific amount, a range of numbers, or a relationship to a previous value opinion. Is the market changing? Is it going up? Is it going down? An appraisal can be oral or written. For example, I love the CarMax ad. Come in for an appraisal. Drive in, we'll give you an appraisal. Okay? That is their opinion of value. Today, because I am an ISA, International Society of Appraisers member, we give verbal approximations of value. It's an approximation. It's what I've seen, I've touched, I know about the market. It is not an appraisal. I am not telling you you can go out and sell it for this. I'm not telling you that you should go out and insure it. I have not prepared that. I have not done any research whatsoever. It is an approximation of value. A competent appraisal report has a cover document. This is the cover. It is not the cover document. It has a cover document explaining in detail what type of value is being sought, what is the purpose of the appraisal, and how the appraisal is to be used, what is its function or assigned use. How much is my teacup worth? Why do you need to know? Oh, because my grandma gave it to me. Okay, why do you need to know? What will you use that information for? You're going to take it to your insurance agent. You're going to donate it to a charity. You're going to bequeath it to somebody. Why do you need to know this? I need to know. So you see, we talk here. It defines what value was sought for the appraisal. It tells you, what was the scope of work? What did I do? I didn't just go to the computer and type in a number, describe the teacup. In fact, I did a sale in Field Creek about a month and a half ago, and they had Native American baskets. They hired an expert, a person who only appraises Native American and other native tribal art, be it African, Southeast Asian, and he supposedly gave them a appraisal report. I had a cover sheet that looked like, "Dear Mrs. Jones, I did the appraisal at such and such of the baskets for fair market value. Signed, John Jones." Then I had a whole bunch of pages. Each page was the picture and the description of the object. Now remember I said he was doing an appraisal for fair market value for the estate? When he got down to the back side on each page for the object, he put current market and a number. Now if I were an English teacher or any other teacher looking at page 1 and then page 5, where we started with numbers, I'd find a discrepancy. He's telling me he's giving me fair market value, but he types in his report current value. Now I just honestly don't know what he's telling me. Honestly do not know what he's telling me. In personal property appraisals, there is no such term as current market. The handouts I gave you are the terminologies of the types of values that we have in personal property. There is no current market. There are different markets for personal property depending upon where you're selling it. Current market is your real estate. I have a 3-bedroom bungalow on 12th Street in Reno, Nevada. The current market for that zip code and that area is $125,000. I am not going to comp it to a 3-bedroom bungalow on the beach in Malibu. The current market in Reno, Nevada for a 3-bedroom bungalow near 12th Street is $125,000. That's not fair market, that's not liquidated market, that's the current market for the real estate. We do not have that in personal property, so never accept current value. Okay, so the appraisal report is a report. Number 2, the methodology and resources relied upon, including market analysis and market selected, are listed. If you got a real estate appraisal, the appraiser gives you a little booklet there. He shows you what comps. He tells you, did I use the sales comparison report, sales comparison method? Am I comparing prices within that marketplace to get a loan to buy that $125,000? Did I use the income method because I'm going to use it as a rental property? We use those same different methods in personal property. So it depends. What are you using this information for? You have to be very specific. And the appraiser has to put it in the report because the next person reading that report must understand what those numbers mean. They must understand what it means. The complete and accurate description of the property written in such a manner that can be identified without photos. Diamond and sapphire ring. Wrong photos here. Pool table. How is the next person going to identify a pool table? Be any pool table. The date and location of the inspection and the effective date of value. Important. Where was that object when the appraiser looked at it? Buried in the picker's barn that they had to climb over all the rafters? And the effective date of value. Did the estate here? The estate here. When I did the appraisal, the gentleman had died a year prior. It had taken the family a year to decide who gets what and when to sell it. So now we're going to divide the property. It's not the value today when you're dividing the property, it's the value of the date of death. That was a year ago. Gold was $1,700 a year ago. It's $1,100 today. The market went down. Picasso was $12 million. He's now $175 million. It changes. Supply, demand, basic economics. It changes. So your appraisal report, you will be interviewed by an appraiser. You have to know this information. I just need the value. No, you have to be very, very specific. A statement by the appraiser that he or she has no financial interest in the property or that such interest is disclosed in the report. No financial interest. This article was in the Reno Gazette-Journal. Forget the date, got it through my LinkedIn network of estate appraisers. In here, it says that you should not hire an appraiser who will sell your property. It's the opposite. You do not hire an appraiser who has a financial interest in buying. That's a conflict of interest. They can sell your property. I'm an auctioneer. I can broker their property. So if these folks wanted me to sell the balance of the estate, including these objects, I would type in there, yes, I have an interest if these items ever come on the market to represent the family in selling those objects. That I disclose. Okay? But don't hire an appraiser who wants to buy from you. Conflict of interest. You don't know if they're giving you the right value and the right amount of money. And the appraiser's qualifications and signature. There should be a biography in the end, a list of credentials, education, etc. If it is a USPAP compliant report, it must comply with USPAP, which is the Uniform Standards of Professional Appraisal Practice. USPAP, Uniform Standards of Professional Appraisal Practice, and comply with their competency rules and contain the cover document with the certification. Certification means that they have talked about and attested to that they have no financial interest in the property. All of these statements here is what's in a USPAP report. That means that they are not taking, they have done this professionally. All real estate appraisers, this is where the real estate appraisers are all licensed and controlled by both the federal government and state governments. Personal property appraisers are not. But those of us who comply with the USPAP are above. We follow the platform of writing the report, we follow the ethics, we follow the conduct in preparing the reports. Do not accept an appraisal if it is handwritten or unsigned. If the fee is based on a contingency or based on the value of the property. Your appraiser should have an hourly fee, a flat fee, a by the project fee, a quote. They're not going to charge you 10% of whatever value they come up with for the item. Never, never. The appropriate purpose and assigned use are not stated in the report. Don't accept a report like that. You have no idea what they're writing down. The item is beyond the appraiser's expertise. An appraiser is not an expert. An appraiser researches. They are the ones who look up what the value is and give an opinion of that value. There are those who do concentrate in certain areas, whether it's fine art, Asian antiques, jewelry, Persian rugs, but they are not experts. Your IST people, IST, those are the experts. You have fossils, you go to a paleontologist. You have gold or silver, you go to a geologist, okay? You have gemstones, you go to a gemologist. They're the ones who look under the microscope. They're the ones who study and know what this stuff is. The appraiser is not willing or able to defend the appraisal in court. They should be able to stand up to their work. Next, define value and distinguish it from price. Value is the monetary worth at a particular time which an informed purchaser typically exchanges for personal property, taking into account a certain market. In this market, a teacup is worth $5. New York City, the teacup may be worth $25. An appraisal determines the monetary worth of property interest based upon past exchanges of comparable items. Sales. What have things sold for? I don't go on Craigslist and I don't look at what everybody's asking for their car or whatever. That's an ask price. That's a price, given the market. Price is the amount of money being asked, which can be artificially high when sellers are accustomed to haggling. Price is not always justified, whereas value has to be justified. If I write the value of that firearm down, I must have the comps that says this is how I came up with the value. Price is nothing. I put, what shall I put on this coffee table? That's my price. I'll expect somebody to bid higher because I'm in the auction business. I'll expect somebody to ask less because I'm in the estate tag sale business. That's my price. So again, if you're out there in the market and your estate liquidator, your estate broker, your auctioneer says that I will give you fair market value, no, he's going to put price on it. Price on it. Price is not justified and price does not equal value. Value is determined by consummated sales. Understand that there are types of values which the appraiser will apply based on an interview with you, which I've already talked about, to determine how you will use the appraisal. Is it insurance, equitable distribution in death or divorce, or for the sale of the items? And also understand that value changes as market conditions change. I gave you the example of gold. 1,700 here, 1,100 here. The man in Sparks asked me 2 months ago, I think gold is going to go up? When should I sell? When do you need to sell? What do you need to sell and why? Okay? I have given you a handout with all the different types of values that personal property appraisers use. Understand that fair market value is an IRS term. Fair market value is an IRS term. It will be used for your estate tax purposes and equitable distribution. That means in the fair market value definition, there is no compulsion to buy or sell. What does that mean? What does that mean? No compulsion to buy or sell. Anyone? No compulsion to buy or sell. This gentleman says no duress. No? No compulsion to buy or sell. That means I have a gold brick here. You're my daughter. I have this gold brick. Would you like this gold brick? She had no compulsion. I had no compulsion. She did not have to take that gold brick. I have a rusty Schwinn bicycle from 1913. He had no compulsion to buy or sell. She had no compulsion to buy or sell. Your heirs do not have a compulsion to buy or sell your items. A charity has no compulsion to buy or sell your items. Every other time you put your items in the marketplace, you do an auction, you do an estate sale, you put a for sale by owner out there. Do you have a compulsion to buy or sell? Not necessarily. Trick question. You put your car out in the front yard with a for sale by owner sign on it, and I'll give you a good one. We'll have one coming up. I have a 1957 Ford Fairlane, red. You know, the kind where the top goes down, the trunk comes up, and the top just sweeps right in there? You'll buy that? I got a buyer. I'm asking $32,000, the same as what was sold at Barrett-Jackson. Well, no. I don't have a compulsion to sell. I'm asking $32,000 for a 1957 Ford Fairlane. No compulsion to buy. I'll wait for the next buyer. Who wants to buy it? I'll reduce it to $30,000. No compulsion to buy or sell. You get into a situation where Kim, mom, can't come back to her 5-bedroom home. Who will take care of it? Who will pay the taxes? Who will pay the maintenance? Who will dust it? You have to go into a retirement home or assisted living yourself. You want to move from Reno to Florida. Your family just inherited your estate with everything inside. Everything inside. That's when you have a liquidation. The attorney will call me up and say, we need you to liquidate the estate. So I want to make sure you all see that definition in your packets. We will be liquidating the estate. Two types of liquidation, because I'm not going over any of the other values. Forced liquidation. That's what this gentleman in Carson City had me do this last weekend. Forced liquidation. Out the door. Out the door. I don't want this house anymore. I want to clean it up. I either want to rent it or I want to put it on the market. Get everything out the door. Out. I was told out. Your garage sales, your estate sales, if that is advertised and done in a short period of time, 10 days or less, that's kind of forced, isn't it? You've signed a contract to sell your piece of real estate and the buyer wants in 3 weeks and the real estate agent is going like this, get them out, get them out, get them out. That's kind of forced because you didn't plan ahead. Orderly liquidation. Taking your time, planning the market, conducted in an orderly manner. Do you think Barrett-Jackson at Hot August Nights could have gotten the prices on those cars if he had 10 days to sell those 450 cars? No. He wouldn't have had the buyers, he wouldn't have had the prices, he wouldn't have exposed those items to the market. That's orderly. Now, some families do an orderly liquidation by themselves. A daughter, we usually get this in situations where the family member does not trust an outside entity to represent them. And there's a daughter right now who is liquidating her mother's estate. And the mother has passed away 6 months now, and the daughter is piece by piece putting items on eBay and Craigslist. But she's getting off of eBay because those buyers aren't any good and the prices are not right. They're self-starters, those who like to do that. But put in your mind what your household looks like and who will get rid of the extraneous stuff. A lot of my clients say, I couldn't do it myself. I'm going to let the kids do it. Well, we'll get into that in a minute. The fact is that each item has many values, depending not only on supply and demand, but also on how the item is sold. This is what causes the ordinary people such confusion when they go to sell their possessions. A recent Reno Gazette-Journal article, I'm referring back to the same one, is titled, "When Treasures Have More Than sentimental value. More than. That should be corrected to say other than sentimental value. Sentimental value is, I don't want to sell it at any price. I need my mom's teddy bear. I need grandma's china set. So, knowing the appraisal process, the types of valuations, and specific asset values makes your asset distribution easier. It guides you on what to sell when you need money. It guides the successor trustee or executor for equitable distribution. It guides the executor of high-value estates to locate those items among your possessions. Where's the jewelry hidden? It's listed on the list. Where's the jewelry? So that it's not just put out on the garage sale table or given away to charity unless that's what you want to do. It guides you on what you should bequeath, donate, or trash. It guides you on whether to sell everything and divide the cash or to divide the items. It guides you on current value versus paid price. My mother paid. My mother always bought the best. My mom got this for her wedding gift in 1959. Okay? It's a reality check, folks. I love that Liberty insurance commercial. You know, the insurance companies get real. The estate is not as large or larger than anticipated for estate tax planning. It avoids disagreements, especially if you gift heirlooms while you're alive, or if you write down what heirs want in your will or your trust log. It provides an independent opinion of value when personal property is of lower value in high-value estates. Did I bring the right thing in here? Montreux, we did an auction. The value of the personal property in that house was less than the value of the whole estate. The value was in the real estate, the stocks, the bonds. That furniture was from 1970. Okay? But it justifies by having an independent person say, you know what? Down. It tells everybody, the family, the court, the taxes. Okay? Value is over in other assets. It puts a burden on you, the estate owner, instead of the heirs or the executor to make decisions. That's what this planning is all about. I had a Verdi Trust, did an auction a couple weeks ago. In trust were 3 antiques. A barber chair, a barber stand, and a barber pole. Put in the trust. The gentleman died 5 years ago. The successor trustee is the daughter who is now about 40 years old. At the time, they could not make a decision of what to do with these antiques and the rest of the antiques, so they put them all in storage. The barber outfit was in the trust to be funding college education for 2 of the grandchildren. 5 years of paying storage. 5 years of Victorian items going down the... How much is left besides paying, after paying me also? Storage man's having fun time in Hawaii or Tahiti or Mexico or wherever he is. Second, have another lady that I'll be working for shortly. Her second husband has passed away. Children from the first marriage were, this one's a little fuzzy, but I'll make the point. Children of the first marriage are supposed to decide on 5 pieces of artwork. Children from the first marriage have not decided on these 5 pieces of artwork. They're hanging in second wife's condo. Second wife wants to move from Reno because she spends 9 months down in Mexico. What is second wife supposed to do with 5 pieces of artwork that children won't stand up and claim? Pay the storage on it? Take them to Mexico? No direction. Dot your I's, cross your T's. I had another lady 2 years ago where mom was a clothing shopper. Every day she went to the Summit Mall, to Chico's, and whatever other stores are out there. I don't shop there. We had over 2,000 pieces of clothing. Over half of them had new price tags on them. What is the daughter to do? Hold on to the house because we now have the clothing outlet? She tried to sell the clothing. What's the value of the clothing? The value of the clothing is on the day that we sell it, not the little price tag that's hanging on it because it's probably 3 seasons too old. She never wore it. It also avoids disagreements. I don't care how you have your paperwork written, children will be children. I had an estate 3 years ago, 4 sisters, aged 55 to almost 70. 4 sisters. The oldest one was in charge. The oldest one was too much in charge, according to the other 3. So nothing got done. They went to court. Court appointed an independent trustee at X amount of dollars per hour. Independent trustee hired an independent appraiser to list every item and value in the estate at X amount of dollars so that the 4 sisters could go in and choose what they wanted. If you ever saw 60-year-old women acting like 3- and 4-year-olds trying to get the most toys in the toy box, you should have been standing in that house. And I'm serious. So knowing what this stuff is worth avoids all of that. Yes, it's putting a burden on you. And yes, many times I hear parents say, let the kids fight it over. I've been there, I've done that. I've seen it. I've seen it all in 20 years. Every day I get phone calls from executors, owners, family friends saying, I've never done this before. How many of you have walked into a relative's house and stood there and said, now what do I do with the rest of the stuff? What do I do? We sold out the C Street Antique Store up in Virginia City. The whole store. Mother had a great time going back to New England where she was for her lifetime, her 20 years up in Virginia City, and bringing everything out here. And then mom can't take care of it anymore. Mom has to live with daughter-in-law. Nothing in writing. Make your decisions. They don't know how to sell things. They don't know where to start. They don't know how to value things. They don't know who to hire. They've been given a binder, a piece of paper, or a court order, and then they have been told to handle it. Report back here at X court date or X time. Not only are they dealing with their emotions, but the emotions, desires, demands of others without direction. I have had families where the brother who's been outcast comes in and pulls everything out of the storage locker and goes rents his own storage locker. It happens. It happens. It's reality. And the one in charge has no idea what to do. You've taken an initial step by protecting your assets in a written document. Now your understanding of value will help you prepare your successor to manage the disposal of those assets for your family's benefit with realistic price expectations and guidance. Your steps to handling your personal property from this day forward should be: ask your heirs what they want. Do they want the china? The Field Creek auction I just did, they didn't want the baskets. They wanted the patio furniture and the grill to take up to Montana to their new home. So don't assume. Grandma may not have liked the china that's been in the china cabinet. That's why there are no chips on it. Do you like it? I mean, we all use dishwashers and Dixie cups. Ask them. Do you want to give it to them now, or do you want to put it in writing? Can you give it up right now? Outline for your executor or guardian what you never want sold. What happens if you have to be in that guardianship situation? You yourself have a guardian over you. What don't you want sold? And what you want, should you be unable to make that decision? It's not just the medical and the financial decision. What about those little tchotchkes? What's important to you? Research for yourself the methods of dispersal of your remaining assets and put that information in your binder. You have that now. You have the resources. You're all on a smartphone. Who can sell my stuff? Where should it go? Put that in writing. Interview the people that you feel comfortable with instead of the other party coming in and being disappointed with who was hired. Oh, you didn't get enough. Oh, there was too much left over. Oh, you did it wrong. Oh, you did. You do that for yourself. It's your stuff. The commercial for Dixie paper plates says it succinctly. It's not about the china. It's about family. And that's cool that grandpa and grandma are sitting around the table with the grandkids relating the family memories of how grandma and grandpa got together. They're eating off of paper plates. And folks, I will tell you that's the reality for this generation. They don't want your china. They don't want your glassware. They don't want your dolls. They don't want your collector plates. Okay? Remember, there are no pockets in your shroud. That's what the lady down at Franktown told me before I could get it out of my mouth. There are no pockets in the shroud. You can't expect your children to build an addition on their home in order to hold all of your possessions. It's not happening. And even the Pharaoh's pyramids have been raided. Okay? It happens. Instead of you or them sitting in indecision, having high expectations because mom only bought the best, or I saw it sell for, or wasting estate finances on storage lockers, put your wishes in writing and explain to your executor what can financially be expected from the estate based on current market valuations provided by a professional. You want your family to forge ahead. So what should you do now to avoid disaster? Understand that markets change and a variety of factors affect value. So here's my Ford Fairlane. Who's up for it? Who wants to buy you want to buy it? All right. I'm asking $32,000 for it. What's your offer? $27,500. I'll take it. Thank you. Oh, by the way, sir, yes, I know, and I've really taken a hit on that because, they're selling at Barrett Jackson and Mecum auctions for about $35,000, but I do understand that you will have to ship it back to Illinois. Okay, well, then you might want to inform him that the gentleman who owned it passed away in 2003. And although it has been garage kept since that time, the original oil and gas are still in it, and all 4 tires are flat. They will only hold air for about a month. And you know what else? He did cut the dashboard to put a modern stereo system in it and speakers in the doors. Understand that markets change and a variety of factors affect value. What it is today, it is not tomorrow. And I have no crystal ball as to what it will be in the future. I work on comparison with comparable sales. Also understand that appraisal price is no guarantee of sale price. That holding costs may be higher than selling in a current market. I have a lady from Joy Lake Road who lost her house, put everything in storage. I have another gentleman down in Carson City who's been sitting on the television watching HSN or those art auctions. He's got more money invested in television art that he can't afford to go put the deposit down on the first month's rent on the assisted living. Television art isn't where it's happening, folks, okay? Holding costs may be higher than current market. Important. Gather your receipts and your information or documents on items, especially those of high value, those that are difficult to identify, or those with provenance. Provenance. Who has owned it? Where has it been exhibited? Fine art is a very good example. A lot of people travel and they enjoy going to the art galleries in the towns that they visit, foreign countries or United States. They bring it back here and nobody knows what it is. Nobody knows who is the little squiggly on the bottom. Get your documents in order so people know what it is. Reduce the burden on your executor. Act. Don't just talk about what you should do. And I gave you the story on Red Rock, Peggy from Red Rock, whose aunt said, you know, John Jones is a little more out there than I am. She didn't act. She was going to change her paperwork. It didn't get changed. Now brother and sister, Peggy and her brother, who have never had words in their life, are having words because John Jones sits there squatting in Virginia House with all the accoutrement. Write and spell out your decisions both for downsizing and your estate, even if it is in a letter to guide people. I don't know what my mother would want me to do, was the daughter with all the clothing. I don't know what my mother would want me to do. So continue to pay the taxes and the holding costs on the condo. Ask beneficiaries what they want and list it in your documents or give the item to them. Simplify for the next step in your estate or downsizing by identifying how and who to liquidate. Those are my guidelines to you. And that's the end of my presentation. I have given you handouts that talk about charitable contributions. It defines fair market value, which is what you will concentrate on the value of your assets are for the estate tax and equitable distribution. No guarantee that that's what it will sell for. High, low, same. We don't know when we bring it to market. It's who you hire and how long you give them to market the item. I've given you the part on the reasons to appraise for wealth planning, what your appraisal report should contain, and definitions on the types of values. So you are educated consumers. You know now what you should ask, what you should expect, and you should pass that expectation on to whomever is handling your assets, whether it's a professional person or a relative or friend, because they will worry. They will go line item by line item in every auction catalog looking, oh my gosh, the teacup sold for $2. You've got to be kidding, that $1,200 TV only sold for $300. They will worry about those things instead of the bottom line. And the bottom line is more than numbers. The bottom line is getting on with life, moving on, grieving about the person, not grieving about the asset. So I thank you all for your questions. I am free and open for questions while we're going through these objects. What I'm going to tell these ladies and anyone else who comes up here today is a verbal approximation of value. And you all have a list of about 10 values, so you tell me what value I'm giving them. Would you like to step over here?
How about if I just step over here?
There you go. Alabaster. And where did you get this?
My mother gave it to me about 25 years ago. She said it was old at the time.
It is old. Do you know what it is?
No. That's what it's about.
Oh, time to go.
Yeah.
This is an alabaster dresser jar. This would have been a solid stone, and they would have carved it out with tools Based on its age, it's probably Victorian era. So yes, we would have used mechanized tools to do that, not hand chisels like Michelangelo used on all of his statuary. And this is all painted decoration on the top. So it is a dresser jar. This is where you would receive anything that you wanted on your dresser, your jewelry, your hairpins. They used to have little hair pieces that they would put in their hair, and this would sit on the dresser or your dressing table where the woman would undress in the evening. Something like this, it does have a little chip here, which will take away from its value, but something like this in a retail setting today will be about $85. So very good.
I just didn't know if my daughter needed to insure it or anything.
Nope.
So that's perfect. Thank you.
You are very welcome. Okay, we have a clock. And you have the key, which is great. This is an American mantle clock. It is key wind, most likely 8-day. On the back, we do have the manufacturer's label, which is probably the model number of the clock. Does it work?
It worked until a few years ago.
Okay,
It will work, but won't keep going.
won't keep going. Have you had it cleaned?
No.
Okay, you can take it to a clock repairman. They're very hard to find in the Reno, Carson market, but there is a clock repairman down in Gardnerville. Yeah, in Gardnerville. There you go. Come to Franktown. I'll sell you some more clocks, some beautiful clocks. But have it cleaned. It probably gets the dust in it from around here that it'll get to working. We do have a major decorative problem here in that the little finial has been sawed off here up at the top. It was most likely a little baluster type of finial.
Thing in here.
Yeah, this is a little stamped brass decorative piece, but this would have been a continuation of the wood that goes up here. It was not a very valuable piece to begin with, and because of the damage here, I will have to subtract that probably an antique dealer would not take it in their shop, so you would have more sentimental value if it comes from a family member. In an auction market, if we were to put it in an auction, honestly, I would expect it to go for $25, maybe $35, because you will have to have a woodworker recreate the finial for the top. So
One thing, I heard it was a wedding present from England for my grandparents in 1903.
it could be English walnut, but it looks more American to me.
They were in Canada.
Yeah, it looks more American to me, actually. Thank you. Let Us Have Peace, U.S. Grant. Born April 27th, 1822, died July 23rd, 1885. Piece of pressed glass. It is actually molded, and the way you can tell that is because the edges are rough here. All of this is rough. Unfortunately, glassware and china is a very depressed market, and it has nothing to do, people are telling me it's because we're California, Nevada, West Coast earthquakes and everything. It's not that. We do not entertain that way anymore. So glassware is not as popular. If you were to sell this in an antique store, they would probably have about a $35 to $45 price on it.
Any idea when it was made?
Based on its color, I would say it's a commemorative piece. I would say it's probably It's after his death, so 1890s, anywhere up to 1920, it would have been made. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.